On this episode of My Next Move, you are going to be listening into a very powerful conversation, one that has inspired me to continue pushing forward no matter what hardships I face along the way. A conversation that stems from severe anxiety and depression at a very young age to dropping out of college with no money to their name whatsoever, taking a massive risk, and scaling their entrepreneur business to six figures all by the age of 18. Things happen very fast, and it is a very inspiring story. So please join me in introducing a digital media guru and a great entrepreneur, Joe Staiber. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you taking the time. We met, 2, 3, 4, 5 months ago?
I don't know where we met. It was just I think it was Simon's place, right?
Yeah.
Connection of ours?
Yeah, Simon had everybody over. But I remember when we first met, you were talking about you owned a digital media marketing agency. Is that right? So you're more of like an entrepreneur in all aspects, right? Because you have a bunch going on. I checked out your Instagram. It looks like you live like a rock star lifestyle. You're like on a helicopter. You're traveling the world and
stuff.
That's
the thing about social media, right? See the best parts. I do a bunch. I'm sure we'll kind of get into the story about how I got started and what led me to what I'm doing now. But currently, I've got two main ventures. One is called Autoscale. So it's essentially, think of it like a marketing agency, but it's more consulting based.
Okay.
Where we come in and we help businesses essentially scale up their lead generation systems. So organic, paid. Just basically getting the right systems in place if they're booking enough appointments. So I think one of the number one problems that we've seen, or at least that I've learned over the last 4 or 5 years, has just been that most businesses aren't growing, not due to a lack of a good product, not due to a lack of understanding about what makes a business work. It's just they're not having enough conversations.
Yeah.
Getting more conversations on their calendars, so they're making more money and more business.
Of course.
So lead generation is essentially what I consult people most with and what I work with most, from B2B.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also have a lot of connections just through like the speaking events that I've done and networking and people that I've met in the industry to where I have connections to media outlets. So I've got a lot of my clients featured in like news organizations such as Business Insider, Forbes, Market Watch.
So it's like a PR.
So it's like a PR side of things, help them boost their social credibility, their Google ranking, their conversion rate, help them get verified, things of that nature.
Okay.
And kind of elevate their brand presence. And kind of tell people like I'm kind of a one-stop shop for people that want to start, scale, and automate their business.
Yeah.
Whether that's elevating their brand presence, increasing their lead flow, finding a better converting website. Really, anything brand presence is kind of my niche.
Brand recognition is everything, right? For like scaling brands, it's crazy because so it sounds like it's like a full service agency, right? That's so.
Well, I think the reason it feels that way is because I've done so many things throughout my last 4 or 5 years that have kind of trickled into like that next thing. I started in e-com, and that kind of taught me website design and Facebook ads and marketing. And then, I had an e-com course where we were selling like how to actually start drop shipping. And then I went more into mentorship, and then it was, just paid ads and doing lead generation through digital marketing. And then that transitioned into organic. And one door opens the next.
Of course.
It kind of just snowballs and you start to pick up more skills and skill sets along
For sure.
the way. And that's resulted in, after 6 years of experience, kind of having a lot of different tools in my kit of things I'm able to do. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, we kind of like hop right into it, man. That's great. I would love to get more into that, but I want to know how you got started, right? So did you go to school for marketing? Did you go to school for entrepreneurship? Did you even go to school? Like what's your story there?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, just like I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, high school wasn't really my crowd. School wasn't really my thing. I definitely did not fit in growing up. I feel like I was always, kind of focused on things that weren't popular or cool.
Yeah.
My interests were never like aligned with like the popular crowd per se.
Okay.
And I think that kind of created some sort of issue for me from a mental health standpoint.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I wasn't cool or wasn't fitting in. So I kind of went down this dark path in high school where I was partying a lot and drinking and smoking and doing a lot of things that kids nowadays do in college.
Yeah.
I was doing it early on in high school, freshman, sophomore year.
Which probably feels like weird and for other kids to see that.
I was kind of always labeled as the bad kid, the poster child of like what you shouldn't be doing. I was getting into the wrong crowds and I'm always super transparent. It's not something I'm proud of, but like I was selling weed in high school.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my first introduction into like supply and demand and entrepreneurship and kind of learning how to, by having a product that was in demand, you could make money. And it wasn't in a legal sense or in a good way, but it was kind of my introduction into everything. And then by the time I graduated and went to college, everybody else was just kind of getting into that party scene and going out. And I'm like over it.
You're kind of over it, yeah.
For 4 years.
For sure.
For me anymore. And I played Division II ice hockey. I'm on the board of a nonprofit charity.
I saw that.
My mother is a single mother. I support her a lot. So there's just a lot of different things going on. So by the time I got to college, like, it was time for me to really get my stuff together.
Yeah.
So while trying to juggle, Division II sports and going to school and maintaining a social life, there's really no time to work a 9-to-5 job to make money outside of, of school and hockey. I mean, I literally was playing hockey, I would say, 5 out of the 7 days a week, whether it was hockey on ice, off ice, practice, game. And then those other 2 days I would have would be spent literally just trying to catch up on schoolwork.
Yeah.
So this is 2017. So this is when Gary Vee was starting to really blow up and get big, and he was talking about like Craigslist flipping. And I remember one of the first ways I started making money that was like not illegal was I would go on Craigslist, and I would literally go on the free section. I would just find a couch or anything that somebody was getting rid of.
Yeah. That's smart, man.
And I would just list it on Facebook Marketplace for $100, for $200.
So smart. You go pick it up like in a truck or something like that?
Yeah, so it was a super simple strategy. Let's say you had a couch, or this is a nice couch. Let's say you're moving and you just don't really feel like getting rid of it. You put it on Facebook Marketplace for free. I find it, I message you, I say, hey, look, man, it's Monday. I got work all week, but Friday, if it's still available, I'd like to come pick it up. You're like, hey, man, sure.
Yeah.
Let me know Friday. So now I have between Monday to Friday to post that picture on Facebook Marketplace for $100, find a buyer, and arrange for a pickup on Friday.
For sure.
So now Friday comes along, I have a friend come, he picks up the couch, we drop it off, I give him $20, $50, and I was making a couple $100, a week.
In college, right?
This. Yeah. And it allowed me to kind of make some extra money. And I remember kind of just getting involved in that entrepreneurial space and seeing people do different things. And I had no money to my name. I was completely broke. I had maybe like $5,000.
Okay.
I started a drop shipping store. I lost everything.
Yeah.
Now
I heard that's a tough space.
$0 to my name. And I remember I actually went to a business conference in Arizona called Build Your Empire.
Okay.
It was a popular group at the time. And it was kids my age just, talking about entrepreneurship, drop shipping, marketing, copywriting, really just high income skills.
Yeah.
And I remember I didn't even have enough money to pay for the ticket to the event. It was like $1,000 just to go to the event plus air travel.
Yeah.
So I literally bought a plane ticket. No money for this event. Like, just bought a plane ticket to show up at the event.
Wow.
Hoping I'd get in.
Yeah. Wow.
I didn't even know if I was even in the event. I just bought a plane ticket. And I wanted to play the part. I knew that if I just showed up with this attendee mentality that I wasn't going to be accepted into that circle, I wouldn't get into the event.
Yeah.
So I literally just, I don't want to say faked it till I made it, but what I did is I hired a videographer.
Okay.
And his job was just to follow me around that whole week and just document my trip.
Yeah.
I wasn't lying about who I was, about where I was at with my business, but the perception of
who you
being
were
followed by a videographer allowed me to kind of get myself in the door and have these conversations.
That's genius.
And I actually ended up texting a bunch of the speakers the night before the event.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, I'm here for the event. My videographer, I'm here to go shoot some content. Let me know if you want to come out.
Yeah.
And I got a couple of the speakers to actually come meet me, do a photo shoot. They invited me to dinner. And then the next day, I'm friends with these guys. Now I'm at the event. I'm backstage. I'm kicking it with all the speakers.
Holy shit.
I don't want to go too much into that story, but essentially the takeaway that I got from that was at a very young age, I learned that, just by, what you surround yourself with, that how you're perceived is everything. But two, the biggest takeaway that I got was I realized that I might be 17 years old, but this 17-year-old's driving a McLaren and is speaking at this event in front of 100 people. And I've now gotten to meet him in person and not just see the social media side of him.
Yeah.
And what I realize is these kids are no different than me.
Yeah, for sure.
They're just putting in a little bit more effort. They've worked a little bit longer than I have.
Yeah.
And I basically went home with this mentality of I'm leaving school.
Okay.
And I'm going to go all in on this.
Yeah.
And so I told my parents I was taking a semester off of school to pursue this, but I knew I wasn't going back.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally locked myself in my mom's basement for about 3 months and didn't come out.
Really?
Started a drop shipping store, was wildly successful.
The first one, now this is the
it was
second
my
one.
second or third store. I had
Okay.
tested a couple things, but after the event was my first store. It was called Mountaineer Gear. It was a camping brand.
Okay.
And because it was a camping brand, I'm a big traveler. I want to be able to experience the world. I want to go see things. And one of the worst parts about college was I felt like I was restricted.
Of course.
I couldn't go to Colorado for the week if I wanted to. I couldn't go to LA to see my friends. And the reason why was because my grade in the class was actually dictated by attendance. So it didn't matter whether I got A's on my papers, on my tests. If I wasn't wasting my time sitting in that class,
for sure,
I was going to fail.
The attendance points always good.
So when I left, I felt this sense of freedom. So I actually got in my car. I traveled the country, went to every national park.
Oh, let's go.
And I put it to the test. Can I live and make a living on the road?
Yeah.
So I documented my journey of building mountaineer gear. I was sleeping in the tents that I was selling and hiking with the backpacks that I was selling and documenting this journey. And the brand blew up.
And this is all you? You're alone?
This is all me.
Okay.
Alone. And then, just as average people do, I think you can probably relate to this too, as you started getting in the entrepreneurial space and friends from high school and college start seeing you making money and traveling, they're like, hey, what are you doing? How's this working? And I realized that I was able to actually start helping other people. And it never was in a paid sense in the beginning. It was just like, hey, let me just give you some advice or hop on a phone call 100%. And help you out. And I had a buddy of mine start making some pretty sizable money dropshipping.
Okay.
And that was when I kind of realized, like, hey, I could probably sell a course on this. And this is before courses were big in the e-com space. Now everybody's got a program.
Everyone, right?
But started a course, had over 200 students, over 7 figures in sales.
Wow, man.
And the way I got plugged into this whole community, it all came full circle, was one of my students, his name was Vova. He's based in Miami. He was 16 years old at the time. I was 18. And he had a store that did $20,000 in revenue, like his third or fourth month. And he got invited to speak at Simon's event, NetCon.
NetCon, yeah. In LA, right? You guys were in LA?
Yeah, this is in New York at the time.
Oh, okay.
And so I reached out to Vova and I said, hey, man, I don't want to try to jump in on your opportunity or anything, but I coached you, I worked with you. I'd love an introduction to whoever's hosting this event.
Yeah.
Me and Simon ended up hopping on a call. We chopped it up, kicked it, we ended up becoming good friends, and he invited me to speak at his event. And what became me just speaking at his event turned into me doing all of his ticket sales, all of the paid ads to drive sales for the event.
Yeah.
I ended up landing a couple of the big speakers for him from the event that I went to in Arizona.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So fast forward 5 months from the time I went to this event to now speaking on stage with the same people that I went to go see in Arizona, was just this crazy 180, life just took a crazy drastic turn really fast. And then I think, like everything, one door just opens the next, and then I had a second speaking engagement and a third, and podcast features. My business started growing, my social media presence started growing, and that kind of just snowballed into what it is today.
That's incredible, man. And it all starts with a plane ticket that you weren't even sure you were going to make it into, right?
Just a risk.
That's crazy.
It was just taking a risk that not many people are willing to do, and just kind of trusting myself to network my way into that circle. I knew that I, at a high level, mentality for, the way the world works and the way business works. And I just knew that if I got myself in the right atmosphere, the right environment, that people would pick up on that and it would work out. And I got lucky it did.
Yeah, man, that's an incredible story. That's crazy. The one plane ticket kind of blows my mind. You didn't even have enough money to get into the actual event. That's insane. What's so what do you think that's like? What do you think that's, I feel like I always relate things to sports. Like I played basketball. I feel like that taught me a lot. So do you think that playing hockey kind of gave you that confidence to go do your own thing? What what would push you to do something like that? Do you think that's innate? Yeah.
My parents were together when I was growing up. They got divorced pretty early in my life, elementary school, got divorced. And I had this really weird dynamic where I grew up with my father having money and my mother not. My dad always obviously took care of us and our needs as kids, and never made sure my mom couldn't afford to take care of us. But my time was split between the two of them, so I grew up kind of learning two totally different sides of the coin in terms of the way life could be lived. Very financially well off versus struggling to pay the bills.
100%.
And my dad always instilled this mindset in me of you're a Staiber, you can do anything you put your mind to. It's just this family name mentality.
Yeah.
But I was always insecure growing up. I was always a very skinny kid. Was made fun of for my weight. So I was never big in confidence when it came to a social life.
Yeah.
But when it came to my mind and my confidence in being able to accomplish tasks or solve problems, that was always very strong.
Yeah.
And I think it just came down to the content that I was watching was talking about, putting yourself out there, taking risks, don't be afraid what people think about you. and it really was just, I was in a really, really, really bad state of mind.
Yeah.
I had left high school, went to a college that I didn't really know anybody at. It was not my environment. I was going through a really horrible breakup of 4 years, a girl that I dated all throughout high school.
Yeah.
My friend group got dismantled throughout that breakup, and I just needed a change. I needed some. It was basically just this big pushing factor to make a change in my life, and I think it kind of outweighed all of the fears of what could go wrong.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a great story, man. It's crazy to hear about like how it all unfolds and how fast it unfolds, because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs out there, it's so hard to get started because they don't really have a plan, but there's no one way to be like, oh, I'm gonna do this, right? Because it didn't sound like you had like a full on business model when you really went out there and started your own thing and started traveling the world. You just kind of figure it out along the way, right? Like you said, like one door opens the next.
Yeah.
So take us like sit through something where like you went to Colorado, that was the first stop, and then you're drop shipping, you're building a brand. What's it like building a brand from literally scratch to get it out there? Are you running your own ads? How are you investing the money? Like what's your main point to like start building that foundation?
So, I mean, I don't want to go too much into the whole ecom world just because it's been something that I've been removed from for the last 2 years since my like skills have progressed. I don't want to talk too much about like things now because things have changed.
For sure.
But at the time, it was just documenting. It was just literally just documenting my journey of, not being afraid to post a video of me setting up a tent or me going on a hike, just building a brand around what I was building. Like a lot of people just take products, they put on a website and they run ads. Well, I had an actual brand that I was building by creating content of me hiking and sleeping in hammocks and traveling and tenting and all of these different things that allowed me to create content, write blog posts, get really good creatives for Facebook ads and for marketing. But really all it was trial and error. Watching YouTube videos and talking about doing influencer giveaways or talking about running a paid advertising campaign and just kind of trying different things and seeing what works. And it's going to be different for everybody. I think every product, every niche has a different target market. And figuring out where your target market is, what drives their buying decisions, and just kind of learning more about your end user and how you bring them the most value. And for me, that was finding other influencers that were trusted to promote the products. And then creating great content that people wanted to consume and keep watching.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that was, you said 2017, 2018?
This was like end of 2017, beginning of 2018.
So that's when like social media really started like popping up where it's like mostly video content. It's kind of new, like the whole like, that wasn't TikTok time, right?
Yeah, I think Instagram was just starting to release videos around that time or hadn't been out too long. But yeah, it's when things really started to blow up. And even drop shipping in general, like 2013 drop shippers, you could put anything on a website that would sell. 2017 was when it kind of started to get a little bit harder, but it was still extremely easy to find a product and scale. Now everybody and their mother is talking about drop shipping. Everybody knows about the shipping times, and it's definitely gotten a little bit harder. One of the reasons I transitioned out of the space, but it equipped me with so many different skills that I was able to then utilize later in life, whether it be paid advertising, website design, copywriting, marketing, networking, product sourcing, all of those different things that kind of go into running a company.
Do you have a certain niche that you like to work with nowadays? I know people in like the digital media space, they like to like focus on, certain groups, so they have metrics that they can focus on and really focus there to see how to make those ads perform well.
I haven't ever said I only work with this niche. I'm sure I will kind of niche down in the future. The majority of my clients are coaches, consultants, high ticket offers, whether it be marketing, courses, mentorships, consulting. Info product space is definitely where I have found the most success because that's what I do for myself. It's how I've kind of learned lead generation for myself, so it's easily applicable and duplicatable for people that are in a similar space.
Yeah, we might have to talk, man, because I'm actually in the process of creating a trading course right now for education. Like you said, it's a saturated market, but a lot of people out there that I feel like blew up in like 2020, 2021, you were saying anybody like sells courses in the e-commerce space. I feel like that's similar to like the trading, finance, any type of educational space. Everyone's trying to create a course. So it's funny to see. Do you more focus on like keywords for that situation, for like who, like your competition? Are you looking at keywords to rank higher or different types of?
I'm just focused on being myself. I think that a lot of people are getting too hung up on like what are my competitors doing? How do I be more like them? How do I duplicate what's working? I do think there is a factor to that of like learning from other people and implementing and, taking little bits and pieces from other people, making something that's your own. But for me, it's always just about being myself.
Yeah.
Just because people are going to buy into you. They're not going to buy your trading program because they think that your trading program is better than every other program. They're going to buy it because they trust you to deliver a product that they're looking for.
Value, right?
And so I've always just tried to be somebody that's adding value to people around me, creating good content, and putting out good energy into the world. And I feel like that always kind of gravitates back towards you.
All comes full circle.
Yeah.
So would you say for somebody that's starting out in entrepreneurship, whether they wanted to start a bar, start a restaurant, build a brand, or maybe even drop ship, e-commerce, whatever they want to do, what do you think like the main step is? Really kind of focus on that content or like social media presence before all else is kind of learned? Because, we talk about like one thing opens the next door, but like where do you think is a great starting point for someone that's just starting out?
Well, there's so many ways to answer that question.
Yeah.
And there's so many different things or avenues that somebody could take. And I think the first step is kind of figuring out what you want and then asking yourself why you want to do that. Like I feel like a lot of people want to get into drop shipping, but they only want to get into drop shipping because they think there's good money in it.
Yeah.
When it turns out like there's much easier ways to make a couple $1,000s a month than drop shipping, when you have to build a website, source product, spend money to hopefully get money back on ads. Like there's a lot of risk that's involved with that. Just figuring out what do you want to do and why. Are you just trying to make extra money? Like, are you just trying to add some supplemental income to your salary? Are you trying to leave your job full time? Is there something that you're passionate about that you want to create a life around? Like, are you passionate about Pokemon and you want to create a business model or some sort of product around Pokemon? Like, so if that's your passion, then yes, it's just about creating content. It's just about looking at what other people are doing and just being passionate about it and sharing your story and what you're passionate about, and getting good at content creation and YouTube and stuff like that. But that's not really something that I've done, so I don't want to give too much advice to that. But for somebody that's looking to get started into some sort of high income skill, or whether that be coaching, consulting, marketing, podcasting, anything of that nature, I think the number one thing that somebody could do is just start consuming content, going on YouTube, learning, and seeing what other people are doing, and then just start documenting your journey. I think a lot of people feel like they have to have it figured out. Like, I need to already making X amount of money, or like make a video. Today's my first day starting a marketing agency. I have no idea what I'm doing, but here's what I'm going to do. And because how many people have documented from step one?
I don't even think I've ever seen a video like that.
So it's like if you're just documenting from step one, being super vulnerable about where you're at and what you want to do, I think that will allow other people to start following that journey or paying attention. But I don't know, man.
You almost kind of develop a trust in that situation
It's just one of those things that I don't think there's any one way to do something.
Yeah,
I think to answer your question, the simplest, most cliche answer, it's just to start.
Yeah.
Just start doing something, because as long as you don't give up, you'll just learn and then you'll just improve.
Yeah,
and you'll eventually get to a place. If you had told me 5 years ago that I'd be getting clients featured in the news and would be speaking on stages about lead generation, I'd been like, I do drop shipping. You have no idea what you're talking about. I'm never going that way. But one door opens another, and you learn things and you become smarter, and you start to apply the knowledge that you've garnered from other people and other experiences that develop you and what you do.
That's good. That's good advice, actually, because the one thing you said is actually kind of stuck out to me is the social media part, or start following somebody, or regurgitate all that content. One thing I noticed when I first started out was I didn't know how to get involved with whatever I wanted to do, whether it was the stock market, whatever. But somebody that I found on social media, what I did is I kind of just cleared a Twitter. I completely deleted my Twitter, created a new one, and only followed what I was aspiring to do, become a better trader, become an entrepreneur, and only following those pages, because social media could be a little toxic, right? Because you see people posting so much, kind of garbage at the same time. There's a lot of value out there, but you have to make sure that you're filtering what you're, seeing and what you're scrolling on. So that's kind of how I started out, just creating a social media that had 0 followers. And I didn't follow anybody except for that content. So I kind of just cut the crap out and then really focused on that. But I felt like that was, like you said, just scrolling through social media, you can really gain a lot of value from that. But making sure that it's just tailored to that, I feel like is a pretty important step. But when you were on this cross-country trip, did you ever face, like, I'm sure you faced some hardships along the way. What was something like that? Because you're obviously alone. You're just starting this out. Was there ever a time that you were like, oh shit, this isn't working? Or, oh shit, I need to, like, what am I doing right now? Was there ever like one of those oh shit moments?
Every day. Yeah, I think that you're always kind of questioning whether what you're doing is the right thing or whether it's going to work out. I never had a fear of it not working out. I always knew that it would, but it was more about questioning whether the decisions or the things that I was doing was the best way to approach it or if I could do it better. But no, I always had faith in myself to get it done. But there are always times where you're kind of second guessing yourself or wondering what you're doing. And I went on the road trip with a friend, so I wasn't like sitting by myself in the middle of nowhere. Now, I was obviously doing this all myself. Like he was just a buddy of mine that was traveling with me. But, you know, it was very cool to kind of see what that process looks like of starting a store, starting paid ads, seeing some sales come in, figuring out which product works the best. Subbing one product out for another, adding BOGOs or buy one get ones, or upsells, and seeing what was working. But the e-com thing was really easy for me in terms of like getting sales, because it was just about finding a good product, creating a brand around it, and running ads. I was always good at paid advertising because I understood who my target demographic was, and I was good about like reading the analytics and figuring out how to make the ads better. But really where things started to get crazy for me was when I created the course. And was navigating a very weird place where I had a 16-year-old, like I mentioned earlier, Vova, who was, crushing $20,000 months. And then I've got, people that are in their late 20s, early 30s that are, investing tens of, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars into paid ads, and they're not getting any sales, and they're coming back like, this is a scam. And so it was just this weird place to be where it's like, it works for some people and it's not for others. And there's no one, size fits all answer, because every product is different. Every market is different. And I kind of hated that my reputation was being built around somebody else's success, whether they actually succeeded with dropshipping or did not. And that's kind of what led me into more of the agency model, where it was like, well, let me actually sit down and do the marketing for them. Because I think I can make any product sell if I'm the one handling the paid ads and the marketing. So it transitioned more into an agency than it was a course and consultancy. And then it kind of transitioned from there in the sense of now I'm doing these ads for other people. But a lot of these companies that are getting started, they're kids my age, they're smaller companies. They don't have these big marketing campaigns or budgets. And if one product, I always tell people when you're starting dropshipping, you're not just going to start selling your first product and have it blow up. You're going to test, probably close to a dozen products before you find one that can actually be scaled to six figures. And a lot of people don't have the time or the money to continue testing products that don't work. Which is why I think e-com is really one of the worst ways to get started in entrepreneurship. Like, it's crazy for me to say that because it is the vehicle that allowed me to get to where I am. But it does not work for most people that start it.
Why would you say that? Is that more like competition based, or?
I think it's just the amount of, one is absolutely competition. It's become way more saturated. But two is, it just takes a lot of money to start. Like, to test an average product, you're probably looking at about $500 to $1,000 in testing. And if it doesn't work out, you're out that $500 to $1,000, and you start again with the second product and the third. And if it takes you 7 products to hit a winner, I mean, you're out, money. A couple $100, if not a couple thousand. And it can just be stressful for somebody that's just kind of getting started or discouraging. I think the best way to get started, hands down, is going to be learning some sort of high income skill or sales. Whether you're able to offer a high income skill to somebody else or sell a high income skill on behalf of somebody else and make a commission, that's the best low risk, not really putting any money on the table to make some. And then through that, you'll garner the skills to be able to go out and, either start selling your own product or even if you're just outsourcing it. Like, I've got people right now that sell articles to, colleagues or business partners, and they sell them for $2,500, $3,500, and I only charge them, $1,500 to fulfill the order. So they're making $1,500 to $2,000 just for literally facilitating a deal. Like, they make sure that me and him meet, we shake hands, they pay me, I fulfill the order, and they just made $1,500 for basically facilitating a handshake. And ways like that are definitely my favorite in terms of like getting started into an entrepreneurial journey and kind of learning how the world works. So wait, so the course went
and turned into the agency. So there was no real course. It became the agency, right? So you didn't really fully launch the course. It just kind of became the
No,
company.
I did have a course.
Okay.
We had over 200 students, over 7 figures in
you
student
did say that, yeah.
sales. You know, we were featured in a lot of the different like course review websites. You can still find it's called Dropshipping University. It's still available today. I would not recommend for anybody like listening and watching. I wouldn't recommend you go purchase it.
Yeah.
I'd like the money, but I don't need it. And to be honest, it's outdated. So dropshipping is not what I do anymore. But it was a very good stepping stone for me to kind of learn, one, how to launch an info product and manage students and have weekly calls and film material and train people, and that was great.
Yeah.
And my students got great results, and it's what allowed me to kind of get into this whole space of speaking at events and doing podcasts. But just through what worked best for me, what made me the most money, what was easiest for me to fulfill, and what made me happiest was not coaching other people on how to start a dropshipping store, what was doing it for them.
Yeah.
But I did miss the consulting game. I did kind of miss working with people one-to-one. It was very fulfilling for me to help people, take that next step in life or make more money or, be able to spend more time with their kids or leave their job or whatever that is. And now it's become more of a lead generation thing. So,
okay.
We work with people to essentially help them scale their business on autopilot using organic outreach methods. There are ways to automate thousands of emails every single day and get them in the inbox, not the spam inbox, and have a 40% open rate and an 8% reply rate.
Yeah.
There are ways to send out 100 connection requests on LinkedIn and automate all of your outreach and messaging day in and day out. There are ways to hire and train VAs to go into Facebook groups and be doing outreach and basically just be setting appointments on all these different channels on behalf of you without you having to spend 6 hours of your day behind a computer having these conversations.
Yeah.
So that way you're only taking sales calls or you're only handling fulfillment. And it allows a lot of businesses to double, triple, even quadruple the revenue in 2-3 months' time. That's been super fulfilling for me, and it's definitely been something that I enjoy doing. That's what I do today.
To see the results, it's probably really like a great feeling to be able to help businesses or somebody, like you said.
For sure.
Is the automation of these softwares that you have built in house, or are they like softwares that you?
These are softwares that are available to everybody, but just like everything, the reason the softwares work for me and not dozens of other users is because I have found the way to make it work.
To use them,
scripts in place. I have SOPs in place. I know what to say and who my target demographic is and how to handle certain responses. And because I've kind of learned sales, sales is not just verbal, it's written as well. And
of course.
You know how to communicate with somebody effectively to help them make decisions. I think that, you're going to be able to get a lot better results. That's one of the cool things about sales is like everything in life I feel like there's a lot of negative connotation in this world is manipulation. People feel like manipulation is a bad thing.
Yeah.
But if I'm manipulating you to make a decision that's going to impact your life in a positive way, and you would have never made that decision if you hadn't spoken with me, sales can become a really cool tool.
Of course.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's so okay. So is it just you obviously know every single service, the automation services, but do you have a team? I'm assuming that they're working with them. Staiber Consulting, right? That's the name.
Yep. So. I guess I can kind of give you a breakdown of how that all works.
Yeah.
So no crazy big team. I don't believe in having 20 employees. Maybe someday. I don't know. I've literally got one VA that works with me full time. And essentially what that VA does is for 40 hours a week, she manages all of the responses that come in from all of those different softwares. So when we started doing emails, I obviously wrote out all of our campaigns. Same thing with LinkedIn. Same thing with Facebook. And over the course of about 3 months, I was the one handling the responses of a lead that would come in. And let me give you a very easy to explain scenario. So I'll even kind of give some free value for the people that are listening. There's a software called Connected, Kennected, and it connects to your LinkedIn account. And basically what it does is it automatically sends out 100 connection requests every single day.
Okay.
And then when somebody accepts that connection request, it'll automatically send them a message. And then it'll continue sending the messages every 4 hours, every 24 hours, every 5 days. You can kind of set up any sort of drip campaign that you want.
Yeah.
And then when the lead responds, then it becomes manual. So now I need to go and manually reply to that lead. But I learned through the course of doing this for years what my most 7 common responses were. How much does it cost? What's the catch? What's the process look like? Why me? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And you start to answer the same questions over and over again. So I built an SOP. I copied and pasted my most common results. I put them in a Google document, and I shared it with my VA. I'm like, if they ask this question, you copy and paste this response. And it's super easy to train somebody on how to do that.
For
They
sure.
don't need to be great speaking English people. I literally pay her $3 an hour. She lives over in the Philippines.
And
she's
Philippines.
thrilled. She makes a great wage for where she lives.
Yeah.
I give her incredible bonuses every time a client signs. I give her $100. So to her, she is like
Over the moon.
on cloud nine, and I'm getting the equivalent of like $30 an hour work in the U.S. For 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
It allows me to essentially set all my appointments without ever having to really hop into any of these softwares.
Yeah.
And then now I'm just taking sales calls.
Which is the goal, right?
Which is the goal. The ultimate goal is to, eventually have, closers in place that are taking sales calls.
Yeah.
But I gotta be honest, I love sales.
Yeah, it's great.
So I actually do enjoy hopping on calls with clients and getting them to make a decision to work with my company. I also love being the first point of contact that like somebody has when they're speaking to a human person to person is me. But that's essentially how we've been able to automate, 30, 40 appointments a month without spending a single dollar on paid ads. And then you can take that extra money and put it into paid advertising and scale up that way. So that's what we do on the auto scale side. And then obviously I have the press side of things where we're getting companies featured in the news. And we actually utilize a very similar lead generation method for those clients, Facebook and LinkedIn and email. And actually, I haven't really talked about it too much, but that's actually one of the things I'm building out right now is a new info product called Press Automations.
Okay.
And that's essentially going to give people access to my network of writers so that they can get their own clients featured in the news.
Okay.
But it's also going to go over all of my software. It's going to give them all of my scripts, my VSL, my website, so that anybody can just basically copy and paste my business model and start selling press to other businesses.
Wow.
There's no overhead. There's no paid advertising costs. There's no risk involved. It's just find a client that wants to get featured in the news, take payment, pass them off to me. I'll handle fulfillment, and now you're making an extra $5, $10K a month.
Wow.
And my goal with that is to essentially do the same thing with dropshipping, which is just to give single mothers, single fathers, college, students that are looking for another way out, or anybody that's just upset with their current standard of life, and give them another option. I feel like everybody is so trapped in this 9 to 5, has to work to pay the bills, have these obligations. And if they could just supplement an extra $5,000 in income, they'd have a lot more time to spend with family, friends, pursue their hobbies, focus on themselves, their health.
100%.
And that was one of the reasons that I got started in this space was I knew that college wasn't for me. I knew that I didn't want to work a 9 to 5 job. I felt so trapped. And at 18 years old, I'm getting depressed and having all this anxiety about is this really the way I'm going to spend the rest of my life?
Yeah.
And I knew I needed some sort of way to break this system.
Yeah.
And at first it was drop shipping, and then it was paid advertising, and then it was lead gen. And now I'm kind of moving back into the info product space. And it's just been about, how do I create the easiest life for me and make a big impact on the people around me? And I just kind of take it one step at a time. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling.
No, that's good, man. It's kind of funny because it's like it all started when you were like freshman, sophomore, drinking before everybody else was. It's almost like that was like, in hindsight, it almost feels like that's like the good thing, right? Like, because you got all that out of you and it kind of pushed you. Yeah, it pushed you to focus on a completely different path. So you are actually speaking at an event this week, right? You're going to Tulum to speak. So you're also on all the things that you're building. You're also giving more value at like some convention centers and some speaking groups. You mentioned New York City and NetCon and LA, but you're actually going to Tulum this week. Can you speak a little bit about what you guys got going on down there?
Yeah, so it's a really cool event. A guy named Mikey Sheridan, who I actually met at another speaking event that I had done. He ended up becoming a client of mine. We stayed in touch. He started an event called Ace Interstellar, which is very different from the way most business conferences are done, where you walk into a conference room, they get you all hyped up and motivated, and they talk for a couple hours, and you go to network, maybe have a lunch, and you go home.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important parts about business and being an entrepreneur is your mental health. And I'm going to kind of go off on a tangent before I break this down. But I had a really cool story that I think will resonate with a lot of people. I found success at a very early age. At 18 years old, I was making 6 figures. I dropped out of school. I'm traveling the country, speaking at events. Like, my life was drastically different than most people at that age.
Yeah.
And it developed this really toxic ego that started to become my life of like, I'm better than everybody else. Not like in a condescending way, but like just like a, how I viewed myself, and like, I'm not going to do that, or I'm not going to do this because I'm better than that, or and it was just very toxic. And it got to a point where like I started to very much care what other people thought about me in the business world, and like trying to always validate myself or prove myself or one up myself, and it's just a toxic way to live your life. And I ended up losing my Instagram due to a competitor. I had 56,000 followers on Instagram, and a competitor of mine got into a little dispute with me, And I kid you not, this just goes to show like the levels of this game that there are. This dude got in a little dispute with me and was like, if you don't send me $5,000, I'm going to take your Instagram off the internet. Like, you're going to be gone. And I laughed it off. I'm like, you can't delete my Instagram. Like, who are you? I woke up the next
$5,000? How did he get to that number? He was just
I don't know. I woke up the next morning, my Instagram was gone. So what literally was my brand, me speaking, me getting clients, people follow me for advice, like that entire channel of lead acquisition just got wiped overnight.
Yeah, wow.
My business took a huge hit. I stopped getting podcast features and speaking engagements because I no longer had a brand presence and people weren't finding me. And it really messed me up because I had developed a lot of my self-worth through like who I am on the internet.
Yeah.
And it was really, really toxic, and it forced me to take a step back from that side of my life and really kind of just focus on me. And I feel like because I was never super confident and I let this ego kind of develop, I always used my business and my mind and the success that I had financially as a crutch to not focus on the other components of my life, which are extremely important for business owners. Your mental health, getting in the gym, eating right, reading the right books, consuming the right material, having the right thoughts. This is all so important in the world of success. And I wasn't taking that seriously. So this kind of forced me to take a step back and focus on that. And through that, I've been in the gym. I've been eating well. I've focused on my mental health. I've crushed a lot of my anxiety and depression. I'm a lot happier.
Yeah.
And that's without a social presence. And now I'm finally starting to get back into that social world. This is my first speaking engagement in 2 years.
Oh, wow. Well, welcome.
And I'm really excited for it. But one of the reasons why I think this event's going to be so great is it's not just your typical business conference. This is called the ACE Interstellar Retreat. It's a 5-day retreat in the middle of nowhere in Tulum, Mexico, in the middle of the jungle, no Wi-Fi, no nothing.
Wow.
We're going to have morning meditations and yoga sessions, ice baths, great networking. We're going to have celebrations of life ceremonies. And it's going to be a lot about business. It's also going to be a lot about mental health and taking care of yourself and developing habits that are going to allow your mind to grow and your network to grow. And these things are more important than just having the financial component of business, because you'll get burnt out. I got burnt out. Dude,
I feel you, man.
So it's cool to be able to now finally feel like I'm coming full circle to where I was speaking at all these events. I was doing all these podcasts. I had 60,000 Instagram followers and 350,000 TikTok followers, and I'm blowing up on social media. And then kind of feeling like that whole world came to a halt, buckling in, dialing down on myself, my habits, the things that I could do in my business that weren't based off social media, like just regular lead generation, and kind of realizing I don't need social media to run a successful company. And now it feels like I've come full circle. I've mastered my mental health. I've mastered all these things. And now I'm going to go back to Tulum. I'm going to get on stage. I'm going to get all this content and hopefully start the next phase of what becomes my personal brand.
Yeah, man, that's a hell of a story. Thanks for sharing that. It's crazy so what happened with the Instagram? Did you get to reach out to like Facebook or the Instagram at the time? I don't know if Facebook acquired yet.
This dude must have known somebody on the inside, because people's accounts get taken down all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of times you can pay to get them back, but I worked with some of the highest level people that have gotten back some big accounts, and I was basically told, like, there isn't even a record that your account ever existed.
Man, who was this guy?
They wiped it. I'm not going to mention names on the podcast, He basically wiped me off the internet, clean off.
Crazy.
It messed me up.
Wow, man. Yeah, thanks for sharing that again, man. It's crazy you say that, because there's such a, like you're saying, it's like a toxic, and it's great that you're focusing on the mental health piece to it too, because I feel like that's not a lot what people talk about, on whether you see it on social media or you talk to people that are also in the entrepreneur space or just anything, because you can kind of get consumed and trapped into social media. If you're trying to build out your own brand, it's kind of like almost pretty painful when you look at something like on social media and you get, a really nice engagement or a like rate or whatever it is, and then the next one doesn't do so well. And then you're like, oh, my brand's not doing so well, or I'm doing something wrong, which could be a motivator, but you can get burnt out, like you're saying. So it's nice to hear that like this convention is also focusing on the mental aspect, because not a lot of people focus on that, and it can really, put you in a dark place, whether you're doing well financially or not, because like you said, making 6 figures a year feels great, but if you're like mentally like strung out, or your anxiety, or you're only focused on that and not your physical health, like in the gym or what you're eating, that can really, really play a huge toll, take a huge toll on your body too. So this is a 4 or 5 day event down there, or?
Yeah, it's going to be from the 25th to the 30th of January. We're talking today's the 22nd.
Yeah, 22nd.
We're going to be a 5-day retreat, and then I'm saying a couple days afterwards, just to hang out with some of the speakers. We're going to go to X-Correct and just kind of enjoy ourselves.
That's what Simon was saying.
Yeah, so it should be a fun time. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. It's just been a roller coaster of 5 years of kind of starting this process and
Yeah.
finding success and letting ego take over, and then almost self-sabotaging in a sense, and then being forced to take a step back because of the whole Instagram thing, and kind of enjoying my space and focusing on myself. And I think that one of the problems that causes this burnout is Jim Carrey has a quote. I'm not going to quote it perfectly, but essentially what he says is that depression and anxiety is basically your body's way of telling you that it's tired of playing the character that it's playing.
Yeah.
That you're not being true to yourself and what's important to you, because you're trying to please others. You're trying to just be this person that you're not.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I hate to say it, I think 70 to 80% of the people in our space are not who they say they are.
Yeah.
They're not genuine people. They don't really care. They just want to make a quick buck. And if that means selling you a pipe dream and then not delivering on what they just sold you, that's what they'll do. They'll take advantage. They'll say things that they don't mean. They'll lie about results. They'll make content that isn't genuine. And that's what burned me out, was feeling that all these people that I was meeting were just, I'd find out they're not who they say they are.
Yeah.
That really messed me up.
Would they be like taking advantage of you and that type of
Not
thing?
even advantage of me. It's just like people that you think are like good people that are doing things. Then you get, when you know what you're doing in a space, it's not hard to know when somebody's bullshitting.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what you're talking about and you're just trying to learn, some of these guys can sound really motivating and get you to buy a program or a course. And I'm not saying you shouldn't ever, because I have one and they're super valuable. My students make tons of money from it. But there are other programs that I've bought that other people bought have not gotten that what they are promised. And I think it's just about being genuine to what you're interested in, what your values are, and just kind of pursuing that blindly without caring what other people think of you. And that requires a level of awareness into what's going on. And when most people are getting started, they see everybody's posting the pictures of the cars and the beaches, and they're like, oh, I have to do the same thing in order to get there. And it leaves a lot of people feeling, burnt out and stressed and depressed and unfulfilled. And I've been there. I've been through it. But I think it's important to realize that, the happiest moments that I have are that when I have a student. I have a student, her name's Chandra. She lived in Iran. And I started helping her sell high-ticket products in the U.S. in U.S. dollar. And in her currency, that's like a lot more money than. So she was teaching at a school, very rundown school. Family was in a very poor, it's Iraq. She's not in great conditions. And to this day, 5 years of coaching and working with people and posting successes and getting articles about me, like none of that has ever even come close to the amount of happiness and fulfillment I got that when I got a voice message from Chandra telling me that she was able to move her family out of her house into a nicer home in a different country that was much safer, solely because of a skill that I equipped her to be able to utilize.
Damn, man, that's powerful.
And that's essentially the impact that I want to have on the world is I just feel like, not to like bring the Matrix conversation into things, but we live in this society that has, from the second we were born, bred us into doing, acting, and thinking the way they want us to. Yeah. And it's very hard to break if you don't know how to break it. And there's a reason why suicide rates are so high and depression rates are so high and medication rates in young adults and adults in general are so high. And I think it's because people don't have any freedom. They don't have the freedom to live the life the way they want to. They don't have freedom over their time. They can't travel when they want to travel, whether it's financial means or they can't leave their job for the week. And it just creates this level of toxicity. And my goal for myself and for everybody else is to, one, be able to live my life the way I want to live it, travel when I want to, take care of my family, not have to feel like I have to be here at this time. If I want to sleep in, I sleep in. If I want to wake up early, I wake up early. If I want to travel today, I travel. Yeah. And I want to give other people the ability to do that. Yeah. And or at least to know that like they're actively choosing not to live that way because they don't want to take a risk.
Yeah, for sure. Man, that's a powerful story, man. It's crazy. I can only imagine what that feels like to be like, to get that call, to be like, oh, I'm really, making a big change, because that's almost like the full circle in itself. It's you want to be the entrepreneur, but to give back is really that main value add, and what can really make you feel like, oh, this is really worth it. Like this is why I'm doing it. Yeah, and that's great. How's she doing now? Are you still in contact with her?
It's probably been about 6 months since I've spoken with her, and even 6 months ago, it was more of just like I think she sent me a DM, was like, hey, how's it going? I haven't spoken to her about where she's at probably over a year, but I'm sure
Just
she's
good to
doing well. And
Yeah, for sure.
if she ever
That's
needs
great.
anything, she can reach out.
Yeah.
Just like anybody I've ever worked with. I think one of the things that people definitely enjoy about working with me is I'm not too good for somebody. Like if I'm
for
able
sure.
to respond to a text or something, I always I care very deeply about the people that I work with, and I stay in contact with all of them as much as I can.
Yeah, that's nice, man. You have a lot of value to offer, man. This has been great. I wanted to so actually one last thing is so what's you are you most excited about? The like you got the the drop shipping course, you got the agency, the consulting agency, now you're speaking. What's the thing that really keeps you going? What's the best?
Yeah, I mean, I think like everything, I'm just kind of excited to see where the future brings me. I don't know where I'm going to be at in 5 years or what I'm going to be doing. All I know is that it's going to be something that has come from something I've done previously.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm really excited about press automations because I have spent, like I said, the last 5 years. I did the e-com, for myself. I had the course. I did the paid advertising agency. Then I moved into the lead gen agency, and the lead gen agency is still what I spend most of my time doing. That in the press. But the press has been something that has allowed me to add. This is great for any business owner.
Yeah.
Is that I've been able to add an extra $5,000-$10,000 in revenue per month, literally by working with 1 or 2 people a month to get them featured in the news.
Yeah.
And it's a great value add for any sort of digital marketer or lead generation specialist because it helps you rank better on Google, increases your conversion rate, helps you get verified on social media. There's so many value benefits to it, and the fulfillment's really easy.
Yeah.
And I basically had decided, like, if I've been able to add an extra $5,000 to $10,000, like with literally an extra, I'm not even joking, an extra hour a week of work to add an extra, like 4 hours a month to add an extra $5,000 to $10,000 in revenue.
Yeah.
If I can give that to anybody else, that could change their life. An extra
for sure.
$60,000 a year, an extra $120,000 a year.
That's more than the American average income, household income.
So I'm really excited to finish out press automations and open this up to the public to give anybody at any point in life, whether they're just getting started or whether they already have a business that they can plug this into, the ability to add an extra $60,000 to $100,000 in revenue a year.
Life-changing.
And give them the entire blueprint how to do it, the exact softwares that I'm using, the exact scripts that I'm using, the exact SOPs for hiring and training the VAs, what my website looks like. Here's my video that's on my website. Like, literally, here's a blueprint, put it in a scanner, and print it on your own page, and you have your own fully functional business.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that. And then obviously awesome, I'm really excited for the event coming up because I feel like I've kind of been in the shadows for 2 years.
Yeah.
Just focusing on myself since the Instagram thing happened. And I'm super excited to kind of like show the world like, hey, I may have been quiet, but I'm still working.
Yeah, for sure. And you're a great speaker, man. Like, listen, I could talk to you all day about the stories. You have a great story. That kind of leads me into the segment of the podcast. So the 5-year plan is kind of hard to answer, but you've had so much success on your journey. There's been some ups and downs, the hardships, the anxiety. That's a great thing to share. I appreciate you sharing that. And so if you can't give the 5-year plan, so where's all these things you're working on? So what's your next move to continue the success that you're working on?
Yeah, man, I think, and I'm happy to talk about what I do see myself 5-10 years from now. I have no set plan. I'm not like, if I don't do this, I'm not successful. Like, I don't look at it that way. So I'm always willing to move and change and navigate based off of my surroundings and what I know. But, I think that the last year and a half of my life has been so important for me to build up who I need to be to go to the next level. Yeah. Because could I have focused on my business and taken things one step further 2 years ago? Probably. But at some point I would have messed it up because I wasn't who I needed to be to get to that level. Yeah. So I feel like I had to step away from the business to focus on me, and now I'm ready to kind of go all in. Okay. So the next 5 years for me are going to be more podcasts, more speaking engagements, getting back on a TikTok and social media, pumping out value and just kind of talking and documenting my journey. And I really want to be I don't want to call it a motivational speaker, but like I do see myself kind of going into like a Jordan Peterson type route where like I offer up advice and philosophy and share ideas, while also running a company and trying to help businesses grow. But long term, I would like to be somebody that people look up to that inspires the next generation to not just follow a path blindly or to do the things that they have to do because they've been told they have to do it, and just give other people another option, and to hopefully change some lives while in the process. Man,
I love that. It's cool because now it's almost like you're like almost resetting the social media side. So it's like you already have all this knowledge. So it's like you get a do-over with how you really want to structure
It's
it.
essentially a reset. I think that when I first grew my Instagram, I was following 100 people an hour and then unfollowing all of them, and going to competitors' Instagrams and following all the people that commented on their posts, and paying for influencer giveaways and flexing money and student results because I came from a place of ego. And I think now it's just going to be much more me. It's going to be much more organic. It's going to be realistic. It's going to be something that people can connect with. And I'll pivot as things go on, but
Absolutely.
With AI and how that's going to be transformed, I'm taking a look at that. I mean, there's so many different moving parts to constantly be aware of, but the one thing I can promise is I'll always be me. I'll always try to help other people along the way, and if there's a way for me to make money while doing that, you best believe I'm going to take advantage.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Well, that's an incredible story. I loved having you on here, man. Like I said, I could speak with you all day about your story, what you got going on. I'm super happy I met you down here. I'm happy that Simon connected with us, and got ultimately, maybe connect on some things while I'm down here. I'm down here for like a 7 more months or something like that. But
that's the power of networking, man.
Yeah.
It's like, you never know what one person could. I mean, Simon for me is that person.
Yeah, Simon's great, man.
Like, Simon has got me on stage, multiple podcast features, multiple clients, multiple speaking engagements. We got connected through him. Some of my best friends got connected through him. And that's just one person that I got lucky to meet. And there's other people just like him. So just network and put yourself out there, and never be afraid to have a conversation or come from a place of ego, because you never know who you're
exactly, man. I can't wait to see it all unfold. I can't wait to see you open up the new social media and start blowing up, because
I'm pumped, man.
It'd be awesome. Hey, Joe Staiber's coming, everyone. He's coming. But thanks again, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.